Let's talk more about Camie Utsushimi. I had the privilege of revealing this character and her 2 associated cards on Saturday, and I kept my reveal video really short because I wanted the focus to be on the cards, and I didn't want to just give all of my thoughts about what to do with the cards because I wanted people to, be making their own decisions and their own ideas. I didn't want to steal the excitement away from the cards by telling too much. So I kept it really short, but I originally had a much longer video planned. So I'm going to go through the slides that I had already created for the longer video today. And I'm also going to be doing a Jetburn box giveaway. The day that I reach 200 subscribers, I will be pre-ordering the winner a sealed box of Jetburn from Rochester CCG. Whenever I order online, I always use Rochester CCG. They're just fair prices, really fast shipping. Most of the time, of course, I'm buying from my local game store, Stormcrow, but I love buying from Rochester CCG as well. And the rules are, I need you to make a UVS Ultra Camie Utsushimi deck, 1 submission only. Send the deck link to me using the Google form in the description below. I will add this Google form in the description of all of my videos until this contest ends. And then I will judge the lists based on viability and creativity. I'll make a video where I showcase all the lists and just give a few minutes about each list. And then I'll pick out the winner and you'll get a box of Jetburn. I'm currently at 160 subscribers. So I've got about 40 left to go. It's going to be a good few weeks. So you have lots of time. You don't need to rush and make one right away. All right, let's talk about Camie. So she gets 6 or 27 health and she gets this commit discard 1 taunt card before the block step of your rival's attack, reduce its damage to 0. Clearly a very, very strong defensive ability. I love playing Mirio, and this is very similar. It's even better than Mirio because it's in the block step, not the enhanced step. And discarding a taunt card is much easier than discarding a momentum. Discarding a momentum, your rival can really mess with your game plan as Mirio with cards like Instant Shining Flash, Bad Guys Roundup, Capture Evildoers. It can just make it really, really hard. And then you don't have it live on turn 2 most of the time because you haven't gotten a momentum. Whereas with Camie, this response will be live on turn 2 most of the time. And it's much harder for your rival to get you to discard the taunt card. So let's just review the taunt cards that we have currently available and then the ones that Camie has available in her kit, which of course you're probably going to be running 4x of both of those, which is 8 taunt cards. I really don't think you need that many taunt cards. If you're a 6-hander, you at least want to see 1 taunt card in a turn cycle. So you want 1/6 of your deck to be taunt cards. So if you're running a 60 card deck, you should be running at least 10 taunts, I think would be the minimum. You'd probably want a little more just for, just for consistency purposes. But I think 12 to 15, you could definitely get away with playing that number of taunt cards and you could be just fine. I don't think you need to be playing 20 or 30. I think that would be overkill. And so 12 is pretty easy because you already have 8 from her kit. You really just need 1 more card at a 4x. So on the all symbol, sorry, I'm getting used to the new symbols. We get Ruthless Mockery, Haughty, Valiant Pose, Challenging the Fakes, Brutish Swagger. We get some pretty solid options here. I really like Haughty with discard 1 momentum if this is your first attack this turn and your rival has 10 or less health. Your non-throw attack is +5 damage. Your non-throw attack, but then Camie is going to make it into a throw attack basically. That feels very, very strong. I like the synergy there. I'm not sure if it's going to get me to play to difficulty foundation. That's not great otherwise. But, Camie should always have momentum thanks to making, one thing a throw every turn. And then we get Challenging the Fakes. Flip, this attack is -1 damage. If it's not blocked, your rival's next check to play an attack, it's -2. So with Camie, we can not block something, but still take 0 thanks to our response, and then use Challenging the Fakes, or have used Challenging the Fakes, and their next attack gets -2. That feels like these 2 cards have some very, very strong synergy. And then Ruthless Mockery can be pretty easily played at a 1 or 2 of. And if you build your deck around it, Valiant Pose, Flex Your Might, Brutish Swagger, these could all be pretty solid options. On the death symbol, we really don't have anything currently. Hulking Grimace and Tormenting Glare. Although turning Hulking Grimace into a throw kind of feels good, but you're probably not going to be playing Hulking Grimace as Camie. And then on the air symbol, we get Nice Try. It might seem bad that there's only 1 taunt card on the air symbol right now, but it's Nice Try. You can immediately 4x this in your deck, not feel bad about it at all. And now with Camie's kit, you have 12 taunt cards in your deck. I think that's going to, that's perfectly fine for a 50 to 60 card list. And then we have a lot of cards coming. Most of them are in Bakugo Force Kit, which is kind of a bummer because Bakugo's Force Kit feels very, very Bakugo Force specific. Like, it's not going to be too great outside of him, but we at least have 6 options here. And then we also have these 3 cards coming in. On the Death symbol and All symbol, we get Always Cool from Best Jeanist. This is very, very playable. On the All symbol, we're getting the Haunting of Hitoshi Shinso. This is also just a really nice value attack. And then on the Death symbol, we are getting Icy Display from Shoto. I'm not a big fan of this card, but I think these 2 are very playable. So while the taunt card options aren't huge, I do think there are very, very playable ones, and it's not going to hurt the consistency of your deck too much. So the top response is still extremely powerful. And then as for the bottom response, once per turn, commit 1 foundation. After your attack's completely blocked, it's considered partially blocked instead. There are so many different directions that you could take this response. I've got a lot of ideas here, and I'm just going to quickly run through them. I'm not going to spend a lot of time, but you can guarantee that any attack with the clause, if this attack deals damage, goes off. Even cards like Red Gauntlet, which are a flash, because this is a response, it can still work with a flash attack. So destroy 1 foundation after this attack deals damage, which it will. Your rival destroys 2 face-down foundations. This can be very, very strong in certain situations. Hardened Barrage can be a lot of fun. That infinite combo with like All Might's Mentorship and Award the Victor. It's not necessarily infinite with Camie, but your rival basically has to have 2 high blocks in hand. Otherwise, you get to play 6 copies of Hardened Barrage. That feels pretty awesome. She also plays Instant Explosive Release very, very well because she can guarantee that her first attack does damage, or she can also guarantee that your next attack is +2 damage on IER. So these are just some ideas. There's a lot of others, right? Like Rapid Punches, Vanquishing Punch, and I think there's quite a bit more. But these were just 3 neat ones that I thought of right away. And then we can also guarantee specific attacks in Momentum. Cards like Zero Gravity Barrier for even more defense. Imagine if you had Zero Gravity Barrier and another Momentum, and you had a taunt card in hand. You basically just get to totally negate 2 attacks. You would feel untouchable pretty much on defense. And then Electromagnetic Stomp to add back to your hand. Piercing Needle to do a little bit more damage feels good. You can play this really strong momentum-based defense. It's not only Zero Gravity Barrier, also cards like Cheerleader and Convenient Timing and Refreshing Slice. Anything pretty much that is working off of momentum. These really aren't Air, Death, and All aren't really the best momentum-based symbols, but they do get a lot of these strong foundations that work off of momentum. So, if you have a momentum plus Cheerleader, you're practically untouchable. Convenient Time, you're pretty much always going to have momentum as Camie, thanks to getting to play a throw every turn. We can also turn lethal attacks into throws. Right away, I think of Focused Attack because Camie's Ultra Rare is a mid attack. And so this is going to be a 12 damage that you can make into a throw and guarantee 6. Or if you make Camie's Ultra Rare a throw at the beginning, but it also gives 3 speed to a future attack, then you're making Focused Attack into 9 speed. Either way, Focused Attack just feels really, really nice in this deck. Indiscriminate Shock, you can play this if your rival has like 6 committed foundations. You get to play an 11 damage throw as your opener. That feels awesome. Howitzer Impact Cyclone, if you can combo it, you're getting the momentum. You could also grab another momentum from High-Key Mirage and have 2 momentum. Get this to 12 damage very, very easily. You could get this to 12 damage on turn 2. If you play High-Key Mirage, another attack, and then Howitzer Impact Cyclone. I know that would be on a 7, but you would get 2 momentum at that point, and the 3 speed from High-Key Mirage. Now you're talking about a 6 12. That feels very, very nice. You can add damage to non-throw attacks. We already talked about Hottie, but you also get Pro Hero Rankings and Charging 1 for All. Cards that specifically say add damage to non-throw attacks, and they were deemed too powerful to be used on throws. But here with Camie, we can basically use them on a throw. And I know Camie's response isn't the same thing as a throw. I'm just using it for practical purposes. I'm just calling it one. All right, so with all that said, I'm going to rank her as B+. I don't think she's A tier by any means. I don't think she's like a top 25 character in the game. But I do think that she could definitely win locals. I think somebody could top a regional with her. I don't think she could win a regional, but I do think she could make top 16. I think she could win your provisional store championship. She feels very, very strong defensively. And then that bottom response can be sneaky strong on offense as well. So I actually really like this character. I think she's going to be a ton of fun to play. And then we get to her ultra rare High Key Mirage 1 mid 3. If this deals damage, which it always will because we're Utsushimi, draw 1 card and add the top card of your deck to your momentum. Card pool flip before your rival makes a check to block an attack. That check gets -3. That bottom response is what I really like about this card. It doesn't need to be fast because if you're playing as Camie, it can just be slow, still deal damage, you still get your momentum, you still get your draw, and then you get to donate the speed that should have been on this card to a future attack, basically. So you get to donate it to like focused attack, make that 9 speed, or donate it to indiscriminate or howitzer impact cyclone, both attacks that are 3 speed or like a home run comet. You can make home run comet 3 speed to 6 speed. A lot of these attacks on these symbols that are just incredibly powerful, they're held back by their speed. And High Key Mirage is donating its speed to a future attack. And then the draw 1 card and add the top card of your deck to your momentum is just an awesome effect. It does have to deal damage. In Camie, that shouldn't be hard. In other characters, though, it is going to be a little hard, and it's going to hold this card back. Although I'm positive someone is going to find a way to use this ultra rare in a different character. Okay, yeah, I just said this, but yeah, you can add speed and momentum to a future attack. Detroit Smash probably isn't good. It's just funny that you get the momentum, and then you can add 3 cards from your hand to your momentum, and now it's going to be like a 9 mid for 12 that you could easily play as your second attack on turn 2. Flamethrower can get big with powerful 3, and then it's going to get really fast. Yeah, Comet, Cyclone, Focused Attack, cards like this. You don't have to use the momentum for powerful or to up the damage of an attack, though. You could just have the momentum ready to play Nejiri Wave, and then if they blocked your High Key Mirage, then this is going to be for 6 damage. It's going to be 7 speed thanks to High Key Mirage, and you get to stun 3 basically with it. Feels very, very strong. Airstream Driver to seal something. Gutter Punk Elbow. Maybe you go like High Key Mirage into Binding Shoulder Rush, into Gutter Punk Elbow, and then even if your High Key Mirage is flipped, it doesn't matter to Gutter Punk Elbow. It just says add the first card in your card pool. So you could still add it to your hand, even though it's face down. Those are just some neat tricks. I'm not sure any of them would actually be good, but they are available to you. And then you can also use capabilities, which just feels nice with Camie overall in Air and Death, because again, you're giving 5 damage to an attack that could be made into a throw. You also get shock treatment to commit a rival foundation. And yeah, I think this attack is really good, especially in Camie, because you're forcing your rival to block this puny 3 damage move. They're not going to want to block it, but they have to block it because it's 1 speed. It's just begging to be blocked. And then if they do block it, they force you to use your Camie response. If they don't block it and they take the damage, then you still have your Camie response available to you, and you could play something really, really big, like the attacks we just talked about, and turn those into throws. So your rival this is going to be a very, very annoying attack for your rival. The only thing holding back this attack is that I'm not sure it's going to work in other characters as well as it works in Camie. For that reason, I'm going to give it a B grade. But in Camie, I think it's an A, and I think you have to 3 or 4x it basically. And then we get her 1 difficulty foundation Glamour. Tenacious, discard a momentum, add this card to your hand. Just in case you don't have a taunt card in your hand, this gives you another outlet just to up the consistency of Camie's first response. Then enhance commit. If this is a non-throw attack, deals damage, draw 1 card. I think this is a very, very powerful foundation. Typically, commit to draw a card is a 2 difficulty foundation. Yeah, as I mentioned in the reveal video, now it's on a 1 difficulty foundation. Most of the time, you're going to know if your attack is going to deal damage or not. And so you're not going to commit this unless you know for a fact you will be drawing. Or this is very, very strong on defense, because you can just commit to draw on defense and grab a block. I know a lot of these symbols are kind of hurting for draw options. Like when Undaunted Raid first released, I was playing a lot of Air Asui, and I was planning on playing Air Asui at Gen Con before I tore my ACL and had surgery and couldn't go to Gen Con. So Air Asui was my deck, but Air Asui didn't feel consistent because I didn't get a lot of draw on defense. And so I had to hold the right block zones, and I didn't really have another way to grab a block zone if I didn't have it. This card allows you to add it to your hand if you need another mid block, and it allows you to draw a card. You know, with Air Asui, I felt like I had a lot of solid defense. The foundations and defensive ability of my stage was never the issue. The issue was my hand, and I just couldn't, sometimes I just didn't have the blocks. And this gives me two different ways to get a block. I think this is going to be a very, very solid character, very, very solid foundation. Okay, yeah, you can also guarantee the draw outside of Camie. If you use like Electric Jolt and Float combo, you know that those are going to deal damage even though they're non-throws. Oh, yeah, and you can also use it here to basically discard a momentum instead of a card. Right, like prone to dry ice, you discard a card, everything gets +1 damage for the turn. Well, you can discard a momentum, pick up Glamour, and then discard Glamour. So basically, instead of discarding a card from your hand, you discard a momentum. You can also do that on Snack Time and Raiding the Villain's Hideout. Just cards like that value you discarding. You can always do a momentum instead, basically, with Glamour. At least if you have Glamour committed in your stage and you don't need it anymore. Yeah, so with all that said, I think this is an easy A tier. I think this is going to be a staple in the game and very, very strong. That's going to do it for me today. I feel like Camie Utsushimi is very sneaky strong, and her kit supports her game plans really, really well. So I'm really looking forward at seeing all the different decks that y'all come up with. I feel like you could take this character a million different directions. It's really going to be like a deck builder's dream to come up with some really, really wacky, cool combos. So very much looking forward to making this video where I review the Camie Utsushimi list. Again, it's going to be the day I reach 200 subscribers. So that could be in 1 week, could be in 5 weeks. You probably have a good amount of time, but I am looking forward to it, and I will see you guys next time.